Hello, my name's Diana and I'm a 40-year-old woman. The last 5 years have been a lot, and I recently got to experience what karmic justice was like. I've been seeing a lot of stories on here, and I figured that I would come on here and share mine. My story begins with my ex-husband Chase. Chase and I met in college and we dated for around 2 years. We planned on moving in together and waiting a few more years after graduation to get married, but I ended up getting pregnant almost as soon as we moved in together. Neither of us wanted to quit the pregnancy, so we redid our life plans and had my beautiful baby, Serena. Serena was the light of my life. She was such a smart and charming girl. She loved socializing and constantly had a surplus amount of energy that she always expended by helping me around the house. While Serena was a ray of sunshine to deal with, Chase and I began to have issues. Chase barely stayed at home to help with Serena since her birth. He barely helped and he barely had much of a relationship with her. We used to get into a lot of fights about it, but his only concern from the start was money and how we were spending it. Keep in mind, we both worked well-paying jobs, and we were always up to speed on all our bills. We were not living paycheck to paycheck, and we had little money left over at the end of every month, money that I put into a savings account for Serena's college. Chase used to get upset that he never got to spend the money, and I had to remind him that he had his monthly allowance, just like I did, and that the excess money was only meant for Serena. Things did get better when Chase got a promotion, though. I let him keep his extra money because I preferred to not have him scream my ear off. Having that extra money made him finally take care of Serena. That did anger me, but once again, that was better than him never paying Serena any attention. Over the next 10 or so years, life went great for us. Chase and I were doing better, and Serena had grown into a beautiful girl. I was obviously dreading her entering her teenage years, but then there was something much worse happening with her. Suddenly, my lively and energetic baby became lethargic and unable to stay awake for longer than 3 to 4 hours. The same girl who only ever brought home A and A+ started coming back with C's. I tried talking to her to see if there was some mental strain, but she always told me it was nothing. The final straw was when I got multiple calls from all her teachers telling me that Serena was sleeping in class and struggling to stay awake. I then got Serena to spill what she was feeling, and she told me that she just felt fuzzy in her head all the time. She couldn't stay awake for too long because if she tried, her head would hurt like crazy. I got very, very concerned, and I shared my concerns with Chase that night. Chase, I think there's something really, really wrong with Serena. What are you talking about? She's been getting paler and paler, and she looks really weak. Does she have a temperature? No, but whenever she does the smallest of tasks, she needs to sleep after. Like, I asked her to tidy up her room, which only needed her to pick up her clothes off the floor, and she then fell asleep immediately after and only woke up in time for dinner. Maybe she was just tired from the day. Yeah, but she slept immediately after school as well. Is she behaving the same way in school? Did we receive any complaints? Apparently she is. She's constantly sleeping in class and keeps getting late to class. It's like she's stuck in a permanent state of lethargy. And that's very, very concerning, don't you think? Did you speak to her about this? Well, of course. She told me that she just feels drowsy all the time and she doesn't know how to cope with it. Well, I think she's just going through puberty. Must be normal. I don't think this is puberty. I think we need to take this seriously and get her taken to a doctor. I don't think that's necessary. She'll be fine. We probably just need to be stricter with her and she'll be fine. I'm not doing that. She's suffering enough, and the last thing she needs is her parents being strict about something she can't control. Look, you're going to spend unnecessary money by going to the doctor. They're just going to tell you that her hormones are going crazy and it's a normal teenage thing. We'll have to spend a lot of money just for the same diagnosis I just gave you. What's more important, money or your daughter? Besides, we have health insurance, and I'll pay for whatever else needs to be paid. Whatever. You just love to not listen to me. But the money's going out of your pocket, so why do I care? I couldn't believe that Chase was genuinely that concerned about the money. I mean, how was his daughter's life not as important? I didn't give myself time to dwell on it because I felt in my gut that something was seriously wrong. So I took Serena to the doctor immediately the next morning. Serena tried to protest and tell me there was nothing wrong, but I told her to just let us have one visit before drawing that conclusion. She caved and was open and honest with the doctor when describing her symptoms. The doctor had her blood work done and even had her schedule an MRI. Over the next few weeks, Serena and I were just running in and out of the hospital without really learning much. All I knew was that with every visit we paid, the work only got more intense and everyone seemed to be panicking. My stomach was constantly churning because I knew that something was seriously wrong, but I knew that I had to stay strong for Serena. Chase was of no help during this time. He just berated me for wasting time and money. I learned to just tune his rants out eventually. Finally, after one last round of blood work and scans, the doctor told us that he would call me in the evening after the results were finalized. I paced around all day waiting for the results, and when the call finally came, nothing prepared me for the shock that I received. The doctor told me that Serena had an early stage of brain cancer and that we were lucky to detect it immediately. I felt like ice water had been poured all over me. I just listened to the doctor in a haze and thanked him for his care. Chase knew that I received the call and decided to ask me about it by taunting me. "What happened? What did the doctor say? Did you waste a bunch of money like I told you?" "Serena has a tumor in her brain and it's cancerous." "What?" "My poor baby. She's been suffering so long. Gosh, how will I even break this news to her?" "Wait, how far along is the cancer?" "Thankfully, not that far along. It's still very treatable. She'll get surgery done and she'll have to go through chemo." Thank God I took her issues seriously, right? Or, so we're going through with the treatments for her then? What kind of question is that? Of course we are. I'm not going to let my daughter die. So that's one more expense that we have to shoulder now. I always told her not to be on her phone all the time. You cannot possibly be serious right now. Are you really valuing money over our daughter? Look, I get that you're being overly emotional about this, but at some point, you're going to have to think logically about how this is going to affect us. What are you talking about? How am I not supposed to be emotional? This is our child. We've watched her grow up. We've been there with her through every up and down. How can you be so emotionless? Woman, it's not that deep. Yes, I feel sad too. I don't think that Serena deserves to go through this. But really? We're already struggling as a family, and the costs of her treatments are going to be very hard for us to deal with. That's all I'm saying. Great. So what do you suppose we do? Not give our daughter the life-saving treatment she needs? Don't try to make me into a bad person here. Oh, believe me, you're doing it to yourself. You want to know how we could work around the cost of her treatments? For starters, you can stop eating out for lunch every day. You can stop going on long drives in that car of yours that guzzles gas. You can stop going out to drink with your work buddies every other day. Why are you behaving as if our daughter is the one that's the issue here rather than you? You're clearly deranged. Even if I stopped all of that, it would still never cost as much as Serena's treatments would, and you know it. Money saved is better than money spent, no matter how small of an amount it is. That's a stupid thing to say. You know what? We were already struggling to begin with, and now you're asking me to give up the only things that were keeping me sane. I don't want to do this anymore. What are you talking about? It's way too expensive to look after Serena, and I don't want to be destitute. I'm just going to leave. I'll start the filing process for divorce tomorrow, and you'll get the papers whenever you do. What are you talking about? You can't just leave me like that. Since you know just how to save money, I'm sure that you'll be able to figure it out, all on your own. I'm going to go right now. Bye. Chase took out a packed suitcase from his wardrobe and left the house. I could barely process what I was told about Serena, let alone my husband leaving me because he felt like he deserved to have all his money spent on him. He didn't even hesitate to put himself first. He didn't bother to show any empathy for Serena or ask me how I was doing. I cried myself to sleep that night, and when I woke up the next day, I hoped that everything that happened was a dream, but it wasn't. I decided that it would be better to have Chase around for Serena only because I had no idea how I could possibly break the news of our impending divorce to her. So I called Chase to try and grovel to get him to stay with me. He didn't pick up the first 3 times I called him, and just when I was about to give up on the 4th try, he answered. "Oh, thank God you picked up. What do you want?" "Look, I'm sorry if I did or said anything wrong. I get that we were both dealing with a lot. I mean, learning that your daughter has cancer is a big deal, and everyone processes things differently." "What are you saying?" "What I'm trying to say is that I understand that you must have been overwhelmed, and I probably did not make it easier for you by insinuating that you were selfish. Please don't leave Serena and I. Serena wants to see you and is scared you left because of her." "First of all, I did leave because of her. Well, to be more precise, because of her upcoming expenses. Secondly, the cancer news was only the final nail in the coffin. I did not want to be even more destitute than we already were. I was tired of constantly having to calculate how much I could spend where." Wow. So you just wanted to leave because you were selfish? "You can call me whatever you want, but I'm just doing what's best for myself." "Do you really feel nothing for your daughter? Do you not feel heartbroken? How are you leaving at the most crucial moment of her life without even batting an eye?" "I get it. What Serena's going through is tragic, but I cannot be there to support all of us anymore. I can't take any more financial strain, and that's it. What if Serena doesn't make it? Or what if the treatments continue for years? Who's going to finance all of that? You didn't even stop to think of things that way. How dare you believe that Serena won't make it? But even if she didn't, at least the guilt of not having tried enough would not exist. Isn't that something you want?" "No thanks. I don't want to have to give up all my comforts in the world just to be there for no results." "I hope you know that you're a monster. I hope nothing but the absolute worst for you." "Great. The divorce papers shall reach you in a day or 2. Please don't contact me again. Bye." I was appalled. I didn't know what to think about. I felt fully and completely numb to everything that was happening. How could one be careless enough to leave their daughter when she was just diagnosed with cancer? I wanted to cry, not only because my relationship with Chase was over something so selfish, but because I also did not know how I was going to be able to tell Serena why her father left. I realized that I needed to steel myself and be strong for Serena. The poor girl was already going through so much. The last thing she'd want to see was her mother break down and not be there for her. Over the course of the next year, Chase and I got legally divorced. I found out through social media that he married another woman immediately after our divorce was finalized. And let me tell you, that sent me down an entirely new kind of spiral. I felt even more worthless than I did before. But yet again, I tamped down all my emotions because I needed to stay strong for my little girl. I couldn't keep the reason for Chase's absence from Serena too long. I made excuses for the first few months, and it did help that she was almost always hospitalized, but after a point I figured I was only hurting her by not telling her the real reason that her father was not there with her. She was heartbroken when I told her, but eventually got through it. I stayed by her side throughout it all and let her cry for as long as she needed to. In a way, watching her process her emotions made me feel better about my emotions too. Anyways, Serena underwent extensive surgery and chemotherapy to kill off whatever they couldn't remove with the surgery. She lost all her hair and a good amount of weight too, but she was happy, and that was all that mattered. The next 2 years were spent with frequent visits to the hospitals for checkups and routine scans. Finally, 3 years after being diagnosed, my baby girl was declared free of cancer. It was truly a momentous occasion for us. We hosted a big party for all the people who helped us in any capacity that they could, including my parents, Serena's teachers and classmates, our neighbors, and even Chase's parents. Yes, they helped too. They called me as soon as Chase told them about the divorce to tell me that they were disgusted by their son's behavior. They disowned him and made it a point to come over and help in any way they could. I truly am grateful for them. After my baby girl turned 18, she decided to take a gap year to spend proper time with me, considering that the last few years had been spent stressing out about her cancer. We were finally doing well in every aspect of life, and I was genuinely beginning to feel good. But of course, something had to happen. One day, I happened to get a call from an unknown number. I don't know why, but I picked it up. Hello? Hi, Diana, it's Chase here. How did you get my number? Well, I had to look around for it, but I found it eventually. Did you stalk me? No, look, I just wanted to check in on you and Serena. Why all of a sudden? I just miss both of you. Right, and it took you 5 years to reach out to us? I know, I was horrible for what I did. I don't think horrible is strong enough word to describe you abandoning us right after my daughter got diagnosed with cancer, all because you were a selfish jerk. I see you're still holding on to that grudge. I'm sorry for it all. By the way, I'm a changed man now. I highly doubt that. Could you please just tell me how Serena's doing at least? Why should I? You didn't care before, so I don't see why I should tell you anything. Look, you either tell me or I pull some strings and find out myself. Serena's doing fine, so am I. How were you able to finance the whole thing for her? Why is that any of your concern? Look, I feel guilty enough for what I did. At least let me feel better knowing how you managed to get through it all. My parents helped, and so did yours. Our neighborhood and Serena's school also helped in every capacity they could. Now that I think about it, maybe it was a great thing that you left. Yikes. But you're right. I've been nothing but miserable ever since I left. I married this woman who was filthy rich. I quit my job and became a stay-at-home husband. How was that miserable for you? Wasn't that everything you ever wanted? Sure, but she never failed to rub her wealth in my face. One day, I kind of snapped at her and she decided to leave me. Now I'm going to be homeless in a week and I have nowhere to turn to. So, you are the reason for your own misery. That's not surprising. Why are you telling me all this anyway? I just wanted to ask if you'd be able to send me some money. Just for the next few months until I can get back on my feet. I would ask my parents, but they refuse to speak to me. Ha! You cannot be serious. Chase, you have some nerve to stalk me and find my number, threaten me with more stalking to find out about how I'm doing, and then ask me for money after you abandoned your family when they were at their lowest? You don't have to keep throwing my mistakes in my face. I won't be able to help you in any way. What? Why? I promise I'll be better. I'll make up for it in any way that I can. Ugh. I would love to help you, but it's too expensive to look after you, and I've gotten too used to my comforts and I can't ever imagine giving that up. Why, you... All right then, good luck with your future. Do me a favor and lose my number because I never want to hear from you again. If you contact me again, I will file a restraining order against you. Stay out of mine and Serena's lives for good, just like how you had intended when you left. Bye. Nothing felt better than throwing Chase's words back at him. Did I feel bad for the position he was in? Absolutely not. He left Serena and me when we were at our absolute lowest, all because of his selfish needs. I saw absolutely no need for me to help him, and in fact I was actually very shocked at the audacity he had to come crawling back to me. I blocked his number because I wanted nothing to do with him. I found out through his parents that he tried to contact them and get them to help him too, but they did not want anything to do with him either. They had a strong word with him and told him that he was always going to be a disappointment to them. They, too, were just as appalled at his audacity. He never tried to even contact them in the last 5 years. He was willing to burn all bridges just so he could get to live the comfortable life that he wanted. I didn't really keep up with what was happening to Chase after that. I did get reached out to by his ex-wife, and she asked me if he reached out to me. I told her that he did, and she told me that she did not understand how I had put up with him before because he was beyond a handful. I congratulated her on her leaving him and shared a few messages about how Chase was a jerk. After that, I heard nothing more about him. I didn't hide the fact that Chase tried to contact me from Serena. Serena did not like the fact that Chase contacted me and used her past illness as an excuse to ask for money. She was relieved that I did not fall for whatever his plan was and stood my ground. I did ask her if she wanted to get in contact with him after all. He was still her father, and she was entitled to feel however she felt about him. I was never going to stop her from doing whatever she wanted. Serena assured me that she wanted nothing to do with Chase, especially after the heartbreak she suffered in the middle of her treatments when she found out that he was never coming back. Things resumed back to normal in my life after that. Somehow, finding out that Chase was living miserably added a skip in my step after. It felt like a resolution to the tragic past. Serena seems to feel the same way that I do, and we've come around to talking a lot more about him. We've both decided that it's been long enough since our life resumed back to normal, so it was time for us to go to therapy and deal with our issues. So I'm excited to see where life will take me from here on out. I'm glad that I've been given a second chance with my daughter, and honestly, as long as I get to be with her till the end of my time, nothing else matters. Thank you so much for listening.